Chapter 6. Bruce rubbed a thick foam collar around his neck with his good hand. The stupid thing itched badly, and he knew it looked dark but the surgeon had insisted that he must wear it constantly for the next month, or suffer the consequence. At least it kept his neck warm in the frigid air, conditioning in this restraint. He followed Isaac Stevens, who followed the waiter around past the side entrance and between tables and a booth at the back. Bruce stomped his cane down on a lady's foot at one of the tables, and she swore at him. "Damn stupid gimp! Whence watch out, were yes going with that damnable misbegotten horse on stupid cane, you a damn Gaseous, you old bat, he howled. Watch your own feet and keep them out of the way, so I don't trip over them. Don't you know who I am? Give me any more trouble and I'll have your ass arrested. So far, your false teeth will pop out of your head. 3 waiters hurried over. "I'm so sorry, Mr. Lucien," they sniveled. One of them turned on the old lady and shouted, "Backs off, you! That's Mr. Lucien, and he owns half this town." Another waiter spoke up and yelled, "Why, he owns more than half of this here Trotter's Corners, and that's a fact." They gathered around her and knocked her out of her chair, then kicked her a few times to teach her a lesson. Bruce limped on after Stevens, leaving the waiters to handle the woman. It was stupid people like that who had inspired him to climb to the top. He didn't ever want to be stuck with riffraff like that, so he had used the computer skills he had learned from cracking PlayStation games and writing viruses on the internet to build his company to a person was today. A giant among software development companies. Not bad for a guy just out of his teens. He bumped another table with the cast on his leg, but the people there cringed. "Sorry, Mr. Lucent," one declaimed.
"I hope that didn't hurt you."
"No," he offered magnanimously. "I'm okay." He limped across to their booth and slid it across from Stevens. "So, what did you want to talk to me about?" he growled. "Let's have a drink first and get something to eat," soothed Isaac. "That dumb old lady seems to have upset you, so let's relax for a while, and then we'll talk about business." "Suits me fine," offered Bruce. He turned to the waiter. "I'll have a Shirley Temple screwdriver with absolute vodka on the rocks." "Yes, sir," exclaimed the waiter. "And you, Mr. Stevens?" "Space burn on the rocks with a little Pepsi. A good single malt needs a little sweetening." "I prefer Mountain Dew with my single malts," quibbled Bruce. "Or maybe prune juice. It's more natural somehow." "My daughter Irene likes it with root beer, but she's a little weird," chuckled Stevens. He rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then brushed back his close-trimmed hair. "I heard about your accident at the polo club. Guesses you're lucky to be alive. Henry Archer went off the road on the same curve a few nights later in his Humvee, but he didn't survive. The cops said someone had dumped a bunch of used oil on the shoulder near there. That might have been what got you and Henry."
"Henry! Oh my God!"
"Could be. I was only doing 95, but I slid right off when I got there. Had to throw away the boxer shorts I was wearing. They were nice ones, too, glow-in-the-dark green, with luscious red lips printed all over them. I miss those shorts," whined Bruce. He scratched at his crotch where the leg cast rubbed and itched. The waiter returned with their drinks. He set them down and then set a big foaming mug of beer in front of each of them as well. "Compliments of the house, sirs. Mr. Gronnemon said you two looked a little thirsty." "Great," said Isaac. "Nothing like a cold, frosty mug of heavy, dark beer to go with my single malt. Helps wash away the taste." "What will you gentlemen have for lunch?" queried the waiter. Isaac rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then brushed back his close-trimmed hair. "Let's start with pâté de foie gras and caviar and a basket of crackers to spread them on. Triscuits, wheat thin, stuff like that. And some stuffed mushrooms and truffles on the side. And a couple of triple-thick chocolate mocha latte to drink." He might be 50 now, but he could still pack it away. Nothing that a few good rounds of racquetball and polo wouldn't burn back off. Too bad Bruce was all knocked up. Bruce had such a studly body, rock zero, hard abs and massive shoulders from working out and weightlifting, but he was starting to get just a little pudgy since the accident. Isaac had seen him in the locker room at the gym. Kid was pretty well hung, too.
It's the Wonderboner.
Probably had chicks throwing themselves at him all the time. He'd better stay away from Isaac's daughter, Irene Stevens, though. Kid was making a lot of money with his software development company, too, and Isaac wanted a piece of that. If he could buy his way in now, he might be sitting really pretty in a few more years. I'd like some artichoke hearts and pickled eggs, too, mused Bruce Lucent. And make sure there's plenty of whipped cream on my latte.
And 2 hard-boiled eggs.
Yes, sir, exclaimed the waiter. He hurried off to do their bidding in the kitchen. Bruce rubbed his rock-hard abs. I'm getting a little pudgy with all this inactivity since the accident, he mused. I'll have to really work to get back in shape once I'm better. A good thing that shrapnel just nicked my thigh rather than cutting a little higher, or I might be singing a little higher. Wouldn't want to disappoint the ladies.
George, so suave.
Well, my birds do like a twist with their water.
The sunlight was very warm on his face and side from the window, and he wondered if he was going to start sweating. Fire and ice, he thought to himself. Too cold air conditioning and too hot sun. I'm being frozen on one side and roasted on the other. I'll be shivering and sweating at the same time. Isaac will think I've got a fever. Fire and ice. Ice cream and jalapeno. Ice
Water!
and steam. Cold and hot. Freezing on one side and roasting on the other. He fled, uncomfortable, like he had the flu and had a fever. It's kinda chilly in here, commiserated Isaac. How come you look so hot? It's the sunlight, groaned Bruce. I'm boiling on one side and freezing on the other. The waiter brought their appetizers and set them in front of them. More beer, he queried. It's on the house. Sure, quipped Bruce and Isaac together. The waiter refilled their mugs. Hot enough for you? He quipped. Yes, shivered Bruce. I'm boiling on one side and freezing on the other. Like fire and ice. Try the cold beer, offered the waiter. That should help cool you down some. Isaac rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then brushed back his close-trimmed hair. Here's to further success with your company, he enjoined. Bruce returned the toast, and they clanged their frosty mugs of dark beer together, then swilled large mouthfuls down, quotation mark. Ah, declaimed Bruce, that was good. Cold. They tucked into their appetizers. There was pate de foie gras and caviar and stuffed mushrooms and truffles and artichoke hearts and pickled eggs and crackers, and they washed it all down with cold, frosty, dark beer in foamy mugs and sipped their latte. Ah! Exclaimed Bruce. That was really good. How about some real food now? Oh, yes, agreed Isaac. Some real food would really hit the spot now. Waiter! I'd like a half-pound of rare T-bone steak smothered in mushrooms and onions, and a baked potato with cheese and sour cream and bacon bits and steamed baby carrots, and corn on the cob.
Would you take this away, please, and bring me the steak au poivre? Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir, exclaimed the waiter. And you, Mr. Lisant? I'll have a roasted chicken stuffed with truffle and cranberry dressing, a baked potato with butter and sour cream, and a side of some baby back ribs. Yes, sir, he declaimed, and hurried off to the kitchen. Bruce scratched at his neck brace. Who was that babe I saw you with at the party last week? He simpered. Isaac rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then brushed back his close-trimmed hair. That was my daughter, Irene Stevens. She came to the party with me. Your daughter? Inquired Bruce. Wow, she was really hot. I'd surely like to get to know her better. Well, countered Isaac, that might be arranged as long as things go all right. You understand? Cool, quipped Bruce, who was feeling hot on one side and cold on the other. Fire and ice! Bruce wanted to get out of all these casts and things first, though, and to get all his stitches out, or maybe not. She might feel more compassionate toward him if she saw him this way first, and that could lead to more passionate fun later. What a hot babe! He could hardly wait to see her with her clothes off. They'd start slow, maybe a game of strip poker or something classy like that, and then once they were ready, they could go right for the brass ring. His slacks tightened and he winced as one of his stitches pulled out. Bruce rubbed his throbbing crotch where the cast rubbed and the stitch had pulled out and his pants were too tight now. So, he inquired, what did you want to talk about? Isaac rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then brushed back his close-trimmed hair. Well, he counted, you've been very successful with your software company, and I like to talk about that. I really admire a successful man who makes a lot of money. And you're one, especially as young as you are, to be so successful and making so much money, if you know what I mean. I admire that. Yes, agreed Bruce. I am doing rather well, and I enjoy making money. Not the money so much as all the things it can buy, all the wonderful things I can do with it.
Money can be exchanged for goods and services.
I own half of this town, Trotter's Corner, now, and someday I'd like to own half of Atlanta itself. First, I'm going to name this town, though. I'm going to name it Lucentville. Do you hear that, everyone? This town is now Lucentville. And someday Atlanta will be named Lucent City.
Both you, and then one day, your ass!
Everybody cheered and the waiter brought their food. More beer he carried?
What for? Nothing helps.
It's on the house. Sure. They quipped and dug into their food. Well, chewed Stevens around his steak and potatoes and onions and mushrooms and corn on the cob, I'd like to invest in your company. I'd like to give you a lot of money so that I can have a part of your company. And I'll introduce you to Irene, too. Bruce scratched at his neck brace. Well, he gobbled past his roast chicken and ribs, that sounds quite decent of you. I think I'd like that. And I'm especially looking forward to getting to know Irene Stevens better. If you know what I mean. Wow, she was hot! Fire and ice! They devoured their food and drank more toasts from tall, foamy mugs of ice-cold beer. To Lucentville! To Lucent Software Development Corp! To Irene Stevens! To life!
To life, l'chaim.
Fire and ice! At last they finished their meals. Isaac rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then brushed back his close-trimmed hair. How about some desert? Inquired Isaac. Bruce rubbed his throbbing crotch where the cast rubbed against it, and his stitch had pulled out, and his pants were swollen with lust. Dessert would be great, declaimed Bruce. I'm famished. Fire and ice.
Georgia on my mind.
Isaac rubbed his pepper and salt beard, then pushed back his close-trimmed hair. Fire and ice, brake system PSC, roasting on one side and freezing on the other, close-trimmed hair. He gathered around her and knocked her out of a chair, then kicked her a few times to teach her a lesson.